Blog Talk Radio.
You are now online with Andrea, with your host, Andrea Garrison.
Welcome. You are now online with Andrea. I am your host, Andrea Garrison, here on Blog Talk Radio. And whether you're on the phone line, on the internet, on a podcast, listening, chatting, blogging, listening to us live, or reviewing one of our archives, we are so happy to have you with us. For those of you who'd like to call in, the call-in number is 347-426-3895, and we may be opening up the phone lines later in the show for those of you who choose to call in, and for those of you who like to chat, please join our chat room. It is open, but you must be registered with Blog Talk to chat in our chat room. Tonight our topic is a wonderful book called Practical Centering. Exercises to energize your chakras for relaxation, vitality, and health. And our guest is the author of this new book by Quest, the wonderful, wonderful Larkin Barnett. And we also have Dr. Gregory Loewen, who is a pulmonary oncologist who made a wonderful contribution to the book as well. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Great, Andrea. Thanks for having us on your show.
Thank you, Andrea.
I trust that you are quite centered. I know. It was such a beautiful, beautiful read. I enjoyed it so much. And it's funny, I was thinking that people don't think about breathing that much. And it's funny because when I started reading the book, I said, I don't think about it. And maybe I should give it some thought, sort of a, conscious breathing and just relaxing. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful book, and I enjoyed it very much. So if you would please tell us a bit about your journey and how the two of you connected to work on this wonderful book, Practical Centering.
Well, I've had the privilege of working some of Dr. Loewen's pulmonary patients, teaching them two of the breathing techniques in the book. One of them is three-dimensional breathing, which is a form of deep diaphragmatic relaxation breathing, and the other one I call the foundation formula, which involves more of your core contraction of your abdominals, and the breathing is more dynamic with that form.
Right. Now, Doctor, in the book, you say, you talk about how two patients visit the lung doctor. Both take a pulmonary function test to measure the strength of their breathing. Both tests are abnormal and show the same lung condition. The patients have virtually identical test results. And now this is in your opening. And then you say the columns of numbers suggest the degree of disability should be identical. And then you say, here is a surprise. One patient is profoundly short of breath and is unable to work and is barely able to function. And the other patient has breathing symptoms but continues to function and works full time. And what causes such a difference in breathing? If you could just share that with our audience. That was a good question, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. No, it is something that I see on a regular basis. And I think that the real reason that I framed that situation like that is because I think that how we think about our own breathing really matters, and that's why I'm drawn to Larkin's work, because I think that you can really change what you're able to do by changing how you think about your breathing.
Now, I don't really know how many of us really think about breathing. I probably would say most of us just don't do it. We just take it for granted. And of course, when you have difficulty, you certainly realize, wow, I really need that. I need to breathe. So let's talk about conscious breathing versus unconscious breathing.
Well, it's interesting how you said most of us say, I don't need to learn how to breathe. I've been doing it without giving it a passing thought my whole life. It just happens.
Right.
But what that leads to is something often referred to as unconscious shallow chest breathing, which is the barely perceptible, totally inadequate process of delivering air into our lungs while going about our daily routines. And it's amazing how many people suffer from this passive, yet sometimes debilitating condition. And once it's ingrained, it can adversely affect us in many ways, affect our health. And it's subtle in nature. And we're not even aware that we're inefficient breathers. And more importantly, that it could be the root cause of our stress and maybe illness and maybe even accidents if we get going too fast and we're not thinking clearly, and we're just always in this fast-paced lifestyle.
But we're born to breathe correctly. Most babies, right, breathe correctly. So what is it? We lose that innocence, huh? And we lose. We come in here knowing how to breathe. So is there really? Is there bad breathing versus good breathing?
Well, I think that as we grow older and move through the world, we experience sometimes shock, sometimes insult, sometimes stress, difficult things. And those sorts of things, without thinking about it, when we're under stress, we breathe differently. And so I think that in some patients and in people that are not patients, we actually can get locked into a stress mode kind of breathing all the time, even when we're not under that stress. That can just become a habitual way of breathing.
Yeah. So if you could, both of you, share with us when you became aware personally of the power of the breath.
Well, for me, it started in my dance years in college. I actually, through trauma of losing my parents when I was a young child, had developed that bad habit of chronic shallow chest breathing. And in college, I decided to channel my love of movement into the art of dance, but I was at a distinct disadvantage from the other dancers. And my motions were stiff, my concentration would lag. I just couldn't keep up with the other dancers, and I was trying to tap into my natural instincts, but I was having trouble doing it. And in time, I eventually discovered my problem, and my impediment was air. I just had created a very bad habit of not breathing fully. And they say movement education actually helps us tap into the right side of our brain where trauma and memories are stored. So I was lucky enough to find the pathway of dance and movement, and through that discover my breath, and in turn got fascinated with it and wanted to share that knowledge with others by creating breathing techniques.
And it can help everything, even your posture, right? I mean, all of that comes into play dance. So I would imagine the better that you breathe, the better your posture, everything about you, just the whole movement probably becomes more fluid, right?
And that's true even for the layperson who's interested in something like this, to learn to breathe more fully and to combine it with movement, the simple movement patterns that I chose in this book. Your posture's better, places where you hold chronic tension are dissolved slowly over time. Your ability to think more clearly is helped. Sleep patterns, I mean, the list is almost endless as to how it helps your life, better quality of life.
Now, what about you, Doctor? Do you have an early experience where you realized the importance of breathing?
Well, I come to it from a different point of view because, I'm a lung specialist, pulmonologist, and, I finished my training over 20 years ago. And so my point of view about the breathing was more from the standpoint of Western medicine and breathing-related diseases. And I spent many years working with cancer patients at a cancer hospital in Buffalo, Roswell Park. And one of the things that I became interested in there was meditation as a way of dealing with stress and helping cancer patients. And I actually worked with the pastoral staff there to create a CD that is widely circulated to cancer patients. I think there's probably about 10,000 copies out there now in Western New York, and the CD teaches a kind of breathing. And I think that working on that project was really it opened some personal doors for me, because I began to realize in my own practice of meditation and thinking about my breathing that really changed the stress in my life.
Yeah, I was thinking it can be very stressful working with cancer patients, and that I would imagine for your work it's important to, to relieve stress, and that breathing properly, consciously would help you to do that.
When I walk into a room with someone that's dealing with a life-threatening illness, part of my job is to bring an energy to the table that's full of certainty and ease. And if I'm stressed and I'm uptight, then I'm adding to the patient's problems. And they can the patient comes to the doctor and the doctor is all uptight and irritable. The patient walks away with two diseases: their original disease plus stress.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a certain kind of self-care that is really important for doing the kind of work that I have to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about effective breathing versus non-effective breathing. Just to give just the audience, someone who doesn't know much about meditation, or just explain what is effective breathing, and then let's talk about practical centering, and how does one go about practical centering.
Well, proper breathing involves getting, first of all, enough volumes of air in so that you can release stagnant air that remains lodged in the base of our lungs. Most of us breathe primarily into the upper quadrant of the lungs. So Dr. Andrew Weil calls deep diaphragmatic relaxation breathing, his explanation of it is slow, long, even, and tranquil breaths. So anything that helps you to slow your breath down and pay attention to it and is helpful. And I combine breathing with the mind-body connection using visual imagery. And so I help people by visualization is something you see in your mind's eye, and imagery is something you feel with your body. And so I use the balloon as an image for people to focus upon to help them slow their breathing down, but more importantly, to turn inward and connect to body awareness.
So the key really is to first slow it down, because I guess then you become more aware, and you said to breathe deeply, correct?
Oftentimes, if you think of breathing in through a straw, you start to trickle the air in more slowly, but you also want to, without forcing, in time, lengthen the duration of your inhalation and of your exhalation. So that's a matter of learning to control your breath. Again, back to what you said in the beginning, that we take it for granted. So the first thing to do is to slow it down and get enough quantities of air in to have it be, instead of, say, an 8-second inhalation and an 8-second exhalation, which is what most of the population does that I work with when I first start working with them. And then over time, they gradually, without any force or strain again, build it to a 15 or even a 20-second inhalation and exhalation.
Yeah. What's the longest you've ever held your breath?
Well, it's not about holding the breath. In the techniques that I teach, they don't hold the breath. There are breathing techniques that do that, but I don't do that because of the pressure that I feel it puts on the person, as well as I think in that case you should be working with someone if you're holding your breath.
So you don't think it's ever good to do that, to hold it and then
I'm saying it's good, but it's not something that I would put in a book. That would be something more hands-on,
right?
Or
yeah,
one-on-one with someone or in a classroom situation.
Yeah, I see. So, okay, I wanted to read a couple of excerpts. Do you have your book handy, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. On page 1, I wanted to read the first couple of paragraphs. Actually, that whole page would be good because I really liked what it said. If you'd like to read it, or I can read it. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll read it.
Okay.
Okay. The use of visual imagery and conscious controlled breathing is the most direct pathway to your mind-body connection. When we use visual imagery, we construct a mental picture to accomplish a physical task. Visualize what you see in your mind's eye to create an image to send to your body. Feel it with one or all of your senses. Breathing is the only involuntary system of the body that we can consciously control. For most of us, this system is relatively dormant, yet learning to utilize it is the key to radiant health. Healthy people understand that our minds play a critical role in our physical well-being. You will discover that the power of the mind is the key to your most healthy body. Olympic athletes use visualization to imagine the perfect execution of their event. While visualizing, athletes simultaneously feel their bodies performing. If you can see it and can feel it, you can transform your body.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then you say that visual imagery is a powerful way to become absorbed in the movement experience and to suppress negative emotion. Now I exercise every day, and I notice that sometimes I'll just lie on the mat, and this is before I read your book. And after the exercise, I'll do some stretches, and then I'll just kind of lay there and I'll just breathe. And it just feels so good to just breathe, to take that time out. And I guess without even realizing it, when I do that, I'm doing conscious breathing. Because I actually say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lay here flat on the mat, and I'm just going to relax and just breathe. And whenever I do that, it seems like I have, I don't know, it just seems like I've had a better workout because of it, because I've taken that time, to relax and enjoy that whole sensation of breathing and what it does to you. And it's like it gives me energy. I could be a little tired from my workout, but when I take that time to do that, it gives me energy.
It's actually the gateway to that calmness, relaxation, tranquility. Breathing is the key, the doorway, the way to get to that relaxation response. And I wish more people knew that while they were stretching, their constant priority ideally would be on your breath. And the great body traditions, including yoga, meditation, and Tai Chi, have made breath the constant priority and, in fact, have passed it down, knowledge about it, through the generations. And these are centuries-old, ancient disciplines that emphasize the breath and how it relates to the mind-body connection, which is why I use so much visual imagery in the book, because I like to combine the breath with the visual imagery, which is the pathway to the mind-body connection.
Yeah. Yeah, you say don't let negative thoughts creep into your consciousness, and that the reward will be deep relaxation and a heightened sense of being alive.
I actually work with children, too, who, when they're fidgety or they're bored or they have special needs or, they're in discomfort, by teaching them these simple visual imagery exercises for breathing, everything changes in a very short period of time. In fact, when you use visual imagery, there's something called a phenomenon called flow that happens. It's a timeless state where when that child is not feeling good and they use visual imagery, they're dropping their mind deep within their body, and next thing you know, they're centered. Their emotions are feeling a little better, and mentally they feel a little more calm, and physically they're more relaxed.
So actually, when you think of it, it's something that we could do periodically throughout our day, correct?
Ideally, that's what you would want to do.
And so then if you do that, then you're centered throughout your entire day. And when you feel out of balance or a little stressed, just taking a moment to just breathe or to do the conscious breathing can help.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because people often ask me, well, but how can I remember to do my breathing throughout the day? Well, you just hit upon it. The mental trigger, the reminder, or Dr. Loewen has referred to it as a reset button, would be that stress. So when you notice that you're not feeling like yourself, you're having a little harder time dealing with what's going on around you, tap into your breathing, and suddenly you can handle the situation much better because you have mental clarity and more emotional equilibrium, and your body just calms down.
Yeah. Well, what happens, when you do this conscious breathing a lot, what happens, doctor? Does the health of your lungs improve because you're doing the conscious breathing?
I think it's more than that. I mean, I don't think it hurts it hurts your lungs to take a deep breath. But in a Western medicine sort of way, there's probably not a way of measuring any profound change that occurs in the lungs after taking a big breath. I think that the effect is more general, and it affects the nervous system. It slows the heart rate down. The blood pressure goes down. It's really breaking the cycle of stress that affects everything in the body. The breathing is one aspect of it, and that's the aspect that we think about and we talk about, and that Larkin teaches on it. But it has profound effect on the whole body.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed about 4 decades of movement education is it helps to, when I first start working with someone, their intercostal muscles between their rib cage are very tight. They have pain, they have discomfort there. And these rocking massage exercises in the book help to loosen that area of the body. And I've noticed that when you combine it with the breathing, that part of the rib cage and thoracic area starts to open and close more, move more freely, become supple, and perhaps you're warding off or keeping that rigidity at bay for that part of the body, just like feet or any other part of the body when you age. So when you combine the breathing with movement, like I do in this book, you get double benefits for all the breathing muscles and all the other muscles of the body. And also when you get enough oxygen in, the cells are responsible for taking care of all the functions of the body. So you're going to not just feel a little better, you're gonna live at a heightened sense of being alive.
And I guess we even would have fewer aches and pains, right?
Most definitely. I can't believe you said that, Andrea. Most people, when I first start working with them, say they think they have to live with those aches and pains because it's been their friend for so many years. And then when they start to be able to use their mind-body connection, breath, and these gentle rocking massages or stretching or progressive relaxation or core strengthening work, those places where they chronically held tension dissipate. Sometimes it goes to a new home for a little while, but eventually it starts to move out of the body and they live in a more youthful and supple and strong body.
So a lot of the pains, a lot of the aches and pains that we feel are really, it's because we're tense. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of the mechanism, from my point of view, is that, I think if you were to measure the oxygen level, before and after, doing Larkin's exercises, I don't think it's likely that you'd see a big difference in how much oxygen you could really measure, in a physiologic Western sense. But I do think that the stress level that is going on in the body goes down profoundly. And stress-related illness is a major cause of aches and pains and tension, just like you said.
And I bet even heart attacks, right? I mean, I didn't see any studies on that, but I would imagine, if you are super stressed out, you could cause all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Cardiovascular disease and stroke and all the sorts of things that we read about and associate with stress certainly respond to doing this kind of work. And I think that another really important thing as a lung doctor that responds is a person's sense of shortness of breath. The medical word for shortness of breath is the word dyspnea, and it's a sensation that it feels like it's hard to breathe. The causes of shortness of breath are legion, but I think that at the very top of the list is stress. And when people have stress in their lives, it's very, very common for them to feel short of breath.
Yeah.
And having a practical centering kind of practice is a way of treating that. It's a way of lowering stress, and actually you can decrease the sense of shortness of breath if you can lower stress.
Yeah. You say that breathing and contracting your deep abdominal muscles are your daily roadmap to being fit.
Well, that's that whole area of using your deep core abdominal muscles fueled by your breath to give you spine stability, to support you when you're trying to conquer a physical task, when you're lifting something heavy in any sport or fitness, or even when you're transitioning from out of the chair or out of the car or climbing stairs. I mean, for some people, adding that foundation formula to their daily functional activities has completely given them a better quality of life and more energy. But what I find sad is that when people don't work with their breath, and I first meet with them, when they get a muscle cramp, they hold their breath. When they're anxious, they hold their breath. When they're depressed, you barely see them breathing. Or, I mean, I think it's sad that they don't know that right underneath their nose they have this rich resource for helping them get through those challenges, those inevitable challenges, and those physical sensations they're going to come and go in our lives. It's an incredible tool that once you know you've got that tool, it can serve you throughout your whole life.
I mean, it's actually like oxygen therapy, really, right? Because it's like you're giving yourself oxygen just by simply breathing. It's funny, someone was telling me they went to a seminar or something, and there was a heavy-duty discussion, and people were, everyone had a solution for this problem and that. I didn't hear it. But what was so funny is, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this, someone who was participating just made the comment, you know what we all need to do? Just breathe. And everyone was silent. It's like everyone had all these complicated answers about what needs to be done. And this one person just said, just breathe.
It's simple. It's simple, and yet it's complex because it's passive, and we take it for granted. And until we make it part of our daily practical centering, it can't really help us.
Right. Yeah. Well, you say you will find yourself less reactive to stressful circumstances, needing to count to 10 less often. For immediate physiological and mood changes, reprogram your stress response using the affirmations, breathing, and core exercises in the book. We take our cars in for routine service. Your own vehicle, your body requires body maintenance too. These body care routines cultivate awareness by guiding you to habitually choose to focus on what's going on within you, even while on the run. Breathing and contracting your deep abdominals are your daily roadmap to feeling fit. Make moving from your core abdominals a constant priority while lifting heavy objects, climbing stairs, or any time you move. Adding the core abdominal foundation formula is a lifestyle choice as important as getting plenty of water and rest. It provides stability for the spine and takes the pressure off the joints. Now that's fabulous that it actually can take pressure off the joints, too.
Well, it's interesting. You were talking about animals before we went live.
Right.
And the animal kingdom instinctively relies upon their breath. They pant, they purr, they growl, they bark. When a horse gets started, you see and hear that power coming through their nostrils. Then the gait gets going, and the amplitude and power picks up. And we climb a flight of stairs, hoisting our entire body weight up away from gravity's downward pull, like moving squats using the largest muscles of our body, and we get to the top of the stairs, we're supposed to be breathing more fully, and we apologize for being out of breath.
Yeah.
So I think, breathing, you also mentioned, is something that is a body care, body maintenance technique. And the reason why is because we don't store oxygen inside our body. So we better do something to change the amount of air and the quality of our breathing techniques, because it is our most immediate life-sustaining force, and we don't store it.
Yeah. You say you learn how to implement mastery over your energy levels instead of depletion. Now let's talk about when you were talking about when you were dancing and you just didn't have it in you for whatever reason. I guess at that point you needed to focus more on breathing so that you could move better. If you could talk about how you felt as you started to develop that, I mean, did you actually physically feel different and lighter as a dancer?
Well, it wasn't even just in the strict regimen of dance that I noticed it, but I noticed it in college and the rest of my life. So when I couldn't breathe and I was asked a question by a professor in college, I heard drumming in my ears, which I knew was my heart racing. My temperature was raising because I knew my face was apple red. I couldn't catch my breath, and so there was no way I was going to be able to answer the question because I couldn't form a thought. You cannot think clearly and form thoughts unless you are calm within, and the calmness within I definitely discovered through my dancing, so they enhanced one another, because a dancer has to turn within and express what they're feeling outside of their body, but they have to turn within to do it. So my moment of recognition didn't come quickly, but over time, in choreographing by myself in a studio one day, my professor had opened me up to the concepts of Rudolf von Laban, who was the most famous movement theorist and architect and dancer to have ever lived. And he was all about spatial intent and how a dancer moved vertically up and down, horizontally side to side, and sagittally forward and back, like we all do in our daily lives, not giving it a passing thought. Well, suddenly I realized, well, why can't I get air into the interior regions of my body, vertically up and down, side to side, forward and back, making a three-dimensional sort of balloon within my body on an inhalation. And that's when everything changed for me. I did start to lighten up. I could use my breathing in class to calm down all those physiological responses so that I could express myself. So first I had to lose my ability to breathe through trauma as a child. Then I had to realize I'd lost it. Then I had to discover how to change it and master it to become a more efficient breathing machine. And then it became my passion and something that I wanted to share with everyone else, because you just have a better quality of life.
You know, it's interesting. It's something that we all do, but we're not really aware of it. You know? Exactly. Yeah. So can you talk about the patients who you work with there? And doctor, if you could just share the benefits that you've seen in the patients who practice, you know, the breathing.
Well, I think that what comes to mind, think of a patient that we shared that had some, not only had some asthma, but also had the condition of the windpipe that had been resulted from some scarring from a surgery. And this person had a lot of shortness of breath, and they worked with Larkin over a period of months, and we could really see not only a profound difference in what that person was able to do, but also in their CAT scan, we could actually see some difference in how the area of scarring seemed to just dissipate and open up. And so I think, you know, the biggest the biggest benefit that we see in patients is probably the calming and stilling effect that this deep breathing has. And I also think that walking through the pictures that Larkin draws eliminates the space in your mind to be worried about all the things that you're worried about before you started doing the exercise.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine that worry creates a lot of stress. So let's talk about color imagery. If you want to talk a little bit about that. Because you talk about, anchor your exercises with color imagery. If you can just talk about why it's so important, the color imagery.
Well, first of all, just to mention imagery again, in the last 30 years, researchers have gotten very, very interested in the use of visualization and imagery. And they've done research on it, and they say it does help to, deal with stress and to cope with it. And I really feel that when you add the color to something, you're permeating that exercise you're saturating that image with color. And I think that helps you to do what we talked about before, which is slow down your breathing, take longer breaths, enjoy the physical sensation of what it's like to deepen your abdominals toward your spine more fully and to find your deepest layer of abs to protect your spine as you move through space. I mean, color really helps you to grasp onto the physical sensation of these exercises more fully, because you're painting a razor sharp picture in your mind anyway of the image, but then when you add the color to it, the physical sensation is heightened, and it helps you to isolate muscles and move your body as an entire unit more easily.
Yeah, that's it sounds just wonderful. When I hear you speak about it, it just sounds really wonderful. Now, let's talk about chakras, and just explain what are the chakras and what are the significance of the chakras and their relationship to color as well.
Well, chakras are ancient. They're spinning vortices or wheels that are said to align along the spine from the base of the spine up through to the crown of the head. They each have a region, and each region has a color, and they have to do with the ascension process of our personal journey. And each of the chakras has an association to an emotion, a feeling, or an aspect of life. And instead of making it complex, what I decided to do in this book is put all the associations and all the elements of each chakra into a recipe card. So each chakra has its own recipe card that you can refer back to while you're doing the movements, and you can tap into whatever that association is. Like, I work with a lady who's taught piano all her life, and she loves to do the breathing and say the association quietly to herself at the same time while she's moving. So she's combined many of the ingredients in each of the chakra recipe cards to help her out. And she said it's influenced her life and helped her to stay more aware of the things that she'd like to work on in relationships with people and with herself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I was looking how at the diagram on 13, and you have light blue with the neck and violet, which is interesting, the top of the head, and indigo, the forehead, and green, the chest. Yeah, it's interesting. Very. fascinating, actually.
It's something that's deeply relaxing and something that can center and calm you before you begin your day, or even before I go in to meet with a client, or at the end of the day before you go to sleep. It's very helpful to just do this movement meditation in combination with the breath and the colors and the associations.
Yeah, it makes it more of a complete experience.
Exactly. And it's a way of not just improving body awareness, but of loving yourself, turning inward and not being hard on yourself, and knowing that you put your best foot forward that day and you did your best. And I mean, a lot of people have those nagging negative thoughts that creep into their consciousness, and these things help them feel more at peace, more positive. It's a way where you can be, uplifted and have some hope.
Yeah, you say that chakras reside beyond the boundary of your physical body.
Well, they are that intangible, invisible spectrum of light, that energetic part of ourselves that you can't necessarily see but exists, and can be very helpful when you see yourself as an energetic being and not just this physical body, and you add movement to breath work and that kind of idea of the colors and the energy and the spectrum like a rainbow. It calms you on so many levels and relaxes you and gives you energy on so many levels.
Yeah. And so now, self-massage and the chakra rocking massage, what are the benefits of that?
Well, deep tissue health, just as if you were getting a massage from someone, less aches and pains like we were talking about, improvement of the health of the joints, postural and realignment, dissolving of tension patterns in chronic muscular holding places. And what's better than a little rocking back and forth, much like when we were a child?
Yeah, it is. The rocking motion is very comfortable, very soothing, I think. Yeah, very comforting, yeah. And then you have these beautiful affirmations. The one on 39 says, always begin by paying attention to the rhythm of your breathing. Breathe slowly and deeply through your nose and mouth. While rocking periodically, repeat the affirmation, I am grounded and supported in all areas of my life. I feel worthy of abundance. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Those kind of things can help us in our lives as they go through the ups and the downs.
Yeah, and it gets us to focus more on the positive instead of the negative, right? And that's very healing, isn't it?
It is. Very much.
And doctor, how much is attitude? When you're dealing with a major illness, how much is attitude in terms of overcoming the challenges of that illness?
Well, it's huge. I mean, that's really what carries people through difficult illnesses. And I in Western medical training, it's not, the chakras are not something that are really discussed. But the whole idea is interesting to me as a physician, because in language we talk about, let's say, feelings of love and compassion and how we feel in our hearts. And when we say that, we're really talking about the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, where people feel feelings, And so there is kind of an interface between our emotional life and these locations in the body. A lot of times, that sense of safety at the base of the body, like Larkin describes, is people really feel it there, and I think that's why repeating an affirmation and thinking about that emotional context and where it happens in the body for you can really shift the way you feel about yourself and the way you feel about the illness that you're moving through.
Yeah, I think it's great that you incorporate this in your program, Doctor. I think that's really beautiful.
Well, it's, I think if you have ears to hear, then it's a really good thing to hear,
Yeah, it just seems to bring balance. I think that's really what it's all about, wouldn't you say? Just putting everything in balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the affirmations. Another one, maintain awareness of the rhythm of your breathing. Breathe slowly and deeply. Silently repeat the affirmation from time to time. I am enjoying and appreciating the goodness of life, including my relationships. It's very nice. Yeah, I love it. And the thing about this book is, it's not a 300-page book, but there's a lot of information in it, and it's a great size, and it's something that you can go back to and read again and again, and each time probably you'll have a different experience with it.
Well, the hope was that in taking 4 decades and taking out from those 4 decades of taking care of people's bodies and helping them be fit and healthy, that I could come up with enough release techniques and breathing techniques that would be a companion for you, that you would take to the world. And in time, it just, through the imagery, it's so easy to remember the exercise that you really, it becomes yours, something that is ingrained deep within your body.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Maintain awareness of the rhythm of your breathing. Breathe slowly and deeply. Silently repeat the affirmation from time to time. I am powerful and I am cultivating more courage. I enlist cooperation and support when needed. Beautiful. Now let's talk about 3-dimensional balloon breathing using chakra colors. If you can just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the balloon breathing is something that is done by itself when you're fatigued at your desk, or to relax you before or at the end of your day, to help you if you're having sleep problems. It's very important to do that sort of breathing with stretching, or you're kind of missing out on the most important ingredient to help you relax and do a stretch. It's excellent to take you into meditation and when you need more mental clarity. Now, the result of the 3-dimensional breathing is different from the other one. It's tranquility, calmness, relaxation, and peace and calm. And it has to do with those visual pictures, which help you so much to stop focusing on the things around you, like your cell phone or your computer, or how many things you need to get accomplished. So it's a way to, in our Western world, turn our awareness inside. And when you have those balloons to visualize, you're able to, again, take in more air for longer periods of time and increase your breathing mechanism and become an efficient breather instead of a shallow chest breather.
Yeah, here's another affirmation. Maintain awareness of your breathing rhythms while silently repeating the affirmation. I am at peace, I am compassionate, and enjoy helping others. You say that breathing is the only involuntary system of the body that we can consciously control.
Well, certainly when you put your mind on it, you can change it.
I mean, there are probably some individuals that can, with some training, eventually, maybe change their heart rate. But that ability to do that, take years. Whereas, really, it's almost instant. Any of us can slow our breathing down or take a big breath. So it's really a very accessible way of altering something that's ordinarily controlled by the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah. Now let's talk about progressive relaxation using chakra colors.
Progressive relaxation is something that is great if you're healthy, but I also think it can be extremely helpful if you're lying in bed, because your body may be temporarily weak, but you can tap into these visual images and have your inner desire participate in your recovery process. One thing someone can do is they can contract the muscles of their feet as tight as they possibly can, and they can add the color red to it, and they can breathe into that, and then they could exhale and relax that part of their body. And what you do is you go from the feet gradually up through to the crown of the head, tensing and relaxing different parts of the body. By the time you've done that, you've increased blood flow and oxygen and warmth, and you've taken your mind off of your discomfort or your fears or your worry or your pain. And it can really help you with circulation and in the healing process. It gives you something you can do to help you sleep better. And it's also excellent when you're down lying on the ground like you do, Andrea, to do your stretching and your breathing. You could add your progressive relaxation to it. And when you get up, you're going to be more energized. You're going to feel more grounded. Your feet are going to be rooted on planet Earth better. And you're going to be able to have a couple more hours good of something mental you could do, or even something physical.
Right. Yeah.
It recharges your batteries.
Yeah, stretching is really wonderful. I always feel like if I take the time to stretch, it's like I'm giving my body a massage. It's just amazing.
Very true.
And even when you wake up in the morning, before getting out, just kind of do some nice stretches before you get out. It's amazing.
It is. I noticed that my cat does that. My dog does it. I mean, they seem to know that we just don't get up and just run out the door with our, busy lives.
Yeah.
They always start moving and stretching first.
Right.
And then they get going.
Right. You say that slow stretching calms your nervous system, and you also talk about how important it is to relax during the stretch.
I think the most important thing that it does is help us to turn inward. And as you're in the process, it might not feel so great sometimes, but at the end, you feel like a different person, more relaxed, more calm, more centered, and the muscles have just gotten, deeply relaxed. Dr. Oz said right now we're under so much stress that there are two things that we can do, and they're both free, and that's to breathe and to stretch.
Right.
And it really helps because right now they're seeing so many people with migraines and ulcers and just all kinds of tension, and it can break the cycle.
Right. You say that lastly, stretching is one of the keys to feeling young. Children are always in motion, constantly stretching their bodies into different positions. As adults, we can strive to do the same thing. A routine stretching program is an important fitness component for a healthy adult. Stretching will keep the muscles and connective tissue stay elongated and elastic, improve circulation, concentration, and digestion, as well as sleep patterns. Tense muscles contribute to stress. Supple muscles create deep relaxation.
What I love is to watch I work with all ages, from children to 80-year-olds. And I love to watch my 70 and 80-year-olds turn into dynamos in front of my eyes, when they first started working with me, they're rigid, their movements are stiff. They, it takes them 5 moves to transition from the floor to standing. And then when they go, look, I can move like a kid because, spend time on the floor doing their stretches or on their bed. And in one move, they're up on one powerful exhale, tightening their abdominals. They know how to use the physics of their bodies now and body mechanics, and they just move like a little kid. And they're just so proud of it. And then they love to show their grandchildren, look. And I have this feeling that mentally, if we think young and we don't let those thoughts about aging get in there, and then we have a stretching program and a breathing program and a relaxation program, that it really can help us to anti-age, because the body stays supple and youthful and just maneuvers through space like a graceful dancer. And I've watched people, even as, in 70 and 80-year-olds, just become the most fit, healthy bodies they've ever had in their whole lives.
Yeah, that must be a wonderful thing to see that. I could, I was kind of smiling as you were speaking about seeing, people who they come in there stiff and they can barely move. But, as they continue to do it, they become very flexible, and it's amazing to see that. And people say, I can't do that, I just can't. But if they keep doing, the more they do it, the more they can do.
Well, it's what inspires and motivates me, but it's also why I created such a simple system of ABC visual imagery. You really can take it out into your life, and they, in time, in 3 to 6 weeks, they see such changes that then there's no way they don't want to continue to put these real simple, quick techniques into their life to live a better quality of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I have people at first, because I work in physical therapy too, who can't even balance. I mean, they're holding onto the wall, and they actually fall down a lot at first. And then a few weeks later, it's just life transforming. They are standing on one leg. They're not using the wall. They may be holding it with one finger like a feather. I mean, it's just pretty astounding what the core work and the breathing and the stretching and the release work can do for people.
Yeah, there's something to be said for mind over matter, right?
Healthy people have secret. Their minds play an important role in their health, and that's why I created the ABC system, because you have to turn inward and have a razor-sharp, profound, inwardly directed focus on the images, and next thing you know, all the pieces are coming together as an entire unit instead of the body moving in isolated parts with a lot of restrictions and pain and discomfort.
Well, it's interesting because I did home hospice with my mom. My mom had cancer, and she was so positive, and she was so focused on her visitors, and you would think the tumor that she had was so large, you would figure she was in excruciating pain. But she didn't really feel the pain because she didn't focus on the pain. She focused more on the love and that was surrounding her, the warmth, the positive energy. And she didn't feel the pain because she felt the love, and that was her focus. And because that was her focus, it was amazing to see, because she was refusing to take the pain meds. She was like, no, I don't want it. I want to be conscious of my visitors, and I want to enjoy my company. And because she was enjoying her company, she didn't feel the pain.
It's a wonderful story. Your mom must have been an amazing person.
Yeah, it's true, though. And it just shows you, that the mind over matter. And when you focus on that positive and that light and that love and that goodness, you'd be surprised how powerful that is. But you have to trust it, and you have to believe it. And what you're saying about visualization, and how powerful that is. It's like you go in there and you can't stretch, you can't move, but you keep trying, you keep breathing, and before you know it, you're reaching and you're touching your toes. And how amazing it is, just because you want to do it and you see yourself doing it. It's just a beautiful transformation, and that's what I felt when I was reading the book, is that you really can transform your life by simply breathing and relaxing and visualizing and just taking it all in.
Even when you're in hospice and your freedoms are curtailed, visual imagery allows you to have a little bit of control and gives you actual exercises and creative thinking in order to help you in the healing process. And you don't feel so alone.
And it gives you that escape, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, doctor.
I think that taking a deep breath is good, and it lasts for as long as the breath lasts. But taking a deep breath and internalizing an affirmation, like I am safe, I am loved, that's something that can change your stress level all day long.
Right.
That's why I think that these affirmations paired with the breathing exercises are so powerful and transcendent.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it really does make the difference. Now, how did you come up with the whole? How did you do all this, Larkin? You just kind of just put it all together.
Actually, it took many, many years of working with many people, many restrictions, many like people who were Ironmen and Olympic athletes, and worked with opera singers and actors and actresses and just everyday people. And slowly but surely, I created this ABC system of alignment, breathing, and core control, and harnessing visual imagery and the mind-body connection. And it just happened over many, many years of research and development.
Wow. And how long have the two of you been working together with this?
Going on 2 years.
Wow, 2 years. That's wonderful. Really wonderful. It's beautiful. Now, did you have anything else to share that we haven't covered about practical centering?
I think you've asked great questions, and I think we've explained it all.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to explain everything, but it's a beautiful book, and it's small. You can carry it with you, and I love the summary. The summary says the key to feeling centered lies within you, with breathing, massage, meditation, progressive relaxation, core strength, and stretching. Conscious breath training prepares you to meet and address life's inevitable challenges. The benefits have vast and wide-reaching applications. Conscious breathing helps with childbirthing, conquers developmental and emotional milestones, improves physical and mental healing, and ultimately can provide serenity at the end of life's journey. It is your right to take rich, full breaths with deep, primal breath sounds, instead of holding your breath when you hoist yourself out of the car, lift something heavy, climb stairs, get a muscle cramp, work out at the gym, or take a medical test. breathe. Breathing techniques and practice provide an essential tool to support you in times of need. People who have learned and practiced breathing techniques can attest to their value. They have said, "Thank goodness I knew these breathing and core techniques before this difficult circumstance occurred in my life. Why didn't I learn the importance of my core and efficient breathing as a child? I wish I had known about the benefits of conscious breathing techniques and core strength years ago. I could have also shared it with loved ones. They would have gotten through a tough experience quicker and with fewer residual problems. Unfortunately, most of the population treats breathing as no more than an instinct or involuntary reflex from our first breath to our last. And what we do throughout our life's journey to impact our breathing leads to transformation. Experience your life from a rewarding, healthy, and efficient new perspective. Extend your breathing and body care skills to all aspects of your life, including interpersonal relationships, physical activities, joys, successes, and challenges. You will experience life to the fullest with emotional equilibrium, mental acuity, and a physical vitality." Very beautiful.
Thank you.
I think it's wonderful how you took, your work, you're in movement and dance, and then just transformed it into this nice program that helps to heal anyone, really, whether you're working with cancer patients or not. Anyone can use these. And the thing about it is you could, do something in the morning and something at night, but then when you're in a situation where you feel stressed, you could just take that moment, a very quick moment where you can just center and just breathe and just feel the calmness and then deal with it, I think it's a beautiful reminder of that.
I've heard countless stories of how people have centered themselves in different situations, and they continue to this day. And it was a challenge to put movement and breathing into words, but through the power of harnessing visual imagery and the mind-body connection, it became possible.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Well, unless you have something else to share. Doctor, did you have anything else you'd like to share about centering and breathing? And
No, I just wanted to thank you, Andrea, for creating this space for us. This has been so comfortable and really a wonderful conversation. And I hope that your listeners have a chance to check out Larkin's book, because I think it's something that really could change their lives.
Yeah. Did you have a website at all that you wanted to give, Doctor, for anyone who's interested in your work?
No, I really don't.
You have to get one though.
Yeah, we'll
something like that that's related to breathing. Most of my work has to do with lung cancer and things that are sort of related, but not exactly on the target that we're talking about today.
But I think it's really wonderful that the two of you have joined forces. I think it's a beautiful thing. And it was very insightful, Doctor, for you to want to include this in your program to help patients. It's really quite beautiful. So I'm happy that you're doing it, because it goes beyond the traditional, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah, it's all about the whole person,
Yeah. Truly holistic medicine.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful, yeah. Well, it's been really wonderful. Thank you so much for this wonderful book, Practical Centering, exercises to energize your chakras for relaxation, vitality, and health. Really beautiful. It's a beautiful book.
Thank you, Andrea. Keep stretching.
Yeah, I love these affirmations. They're great.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Take care.
Mhm.
I'd like to thank our guests, Larkin Barnett and Dr. Gregory Loewen, for being here to share a bit of their journey and for giving us insight into this very special book, Practical Centering, Exercises to Energize Your Chakras for Relaxation, Vitality, and Health. For more information, please visit www.questbooks.net. To each and every one of you out there, thank you so much for joining me, Andrea Garrison, here online with Andrea. Make sure you join me next time here on Blog Talk Radio, the citizen's voice on the Internet, taking radio to a new interactive and expansive level. But in the meantime, do whatever you can to reach out to help others, and never underestimate the power of a friendly smile. Thank you so much for listening to Andrea Garrison. Take care.
Thank you for connecting to Online with Andrea, with your host, Andrea Garrison.
That's it.
Garrison.
That's it.
Garrison.
That's it.
Garrison.
That's it.
Garrison.